A Muslim family from Luton are raising awareness about brain tumours after losing their daughter and sister. Amani Liaquat died in February at the age of 23. Just 10 months earlier, she'd been diagnosed with grade 4 glioblastoma after suffering a seizure. Amani became an ambassador for brain tumour research, and her family are continuing her wonderful work, saying more investment is needed. And I'm so pleased to say that I've got Amani's parent, Yasmin, and Kurum in the studio with me. Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, so lovely to have you. I'm always excited to have visitors. I think that's the thing, because it's like, come into my home. I'm going to look after you. So it's always nice to see people on a Sunday morning as well. Right. Firstly, Yasmin, tell us about Amani. What was she like?
Oh, she was just such a wonderful person. She's, even from childhood, she was just like full of joy. Her personality just totally filled a room. She just had so much charisma. She seemed to just touch the hearts of everybody, that she met from a young age until her passing. She was just a very special person and, just full of joy. She just brought joy to everyone's lives.
So you've got a number of children. Tell us where she was in the...
Yeah, she was our eldest,
she was
so firstborn,
eldest.
So a special place being the firstborn. And then we've got two other equally fantastic girls, that followed on from her, yeah.
And tell us what she was doing before she became ill.
She'd finished her law degree. She got first class at law degree at University of Leicester. So she'd been away for 3 years, obviously coming backwards and forwards, but been away there doing that and had a great time there. And then she didn't want to continue sort of just doing law in like a law practice. So she decided she wanted to do something more helping people. So she decided to do masters in social work. So she'd started that, and we'd said to her, look, come home now, be close to home. And so she did that at University of Bedfordshire, and she'd started her placement. And she'd just days after before she fell ill, she'd had an assessment, and they said that she was doing really well and sort of showed promise of being a great social worker. So that's what she wanted to do.
It sounds like she was thriving. Yeah. Kurum, I'm going to bring you in here if that's okay. So when Amani was diagnosed, tell us what were her symptoms, what impact that had on the family and on Amani herself.
Yeah, her symptoms were quite late on, only a few days before she had a big seizure. I remember just started the month of fasting, and a couple of incidents that we thought were rather strange, but lockdown had just started, so it wasn't easy to get hold of GPs or medical help. And she just opened her fast, and they were really long at that time, and she had a bit of watermelon. And then a few minutes later she threw up, and we thought, that's really strange. It can't be food poisoning. You've not eaten for nearly 20 odd hours. And she also said, while we were sitting at the dining table, oh, Dad, I can't see you from where I'm sitting. And I was sitting just across from her, and it should be in your normal field of vision. And so we thought that was odd, but again, it went away. And we thought, oh, is it because of the fasting? Is it, you just weren't feeling too great? So she didn't fast the next 1 or 2 days. And then on her birthday, she said, oh, I'm feeling a bit better today. And her friends came and dropped her presents to the house because they couldn't come in. And then towards the end of the day, she said, I don't feel well again. And we said, well, it could be your fasting at 6 p.m. You can either break your fast or rest. And she said, oh, I'll rest. And then I think a few hours later, Yasmin heard like the bin get knocked over, and I think Yasmin's maternal instinct kicked in, and she thought, this is odd. And she went in the room, and Amani was having a huge seizure. And then you can say all hell broke loose in the house, panic, and we called the ambulance, and she was shipped off to the hospital. Gosh. Had another seizure on the way to the hospital, and then we weren't allowed in. So Yasmin got sent home. We got a phone call at about 10 p.m. that night saying, one of you need to come in. We've seen something on the scan. And we thought, right, this has got to be serious, because nobody's allowed. This is right at the beginning. Nobody's allowed in hospital other than the patient when they're an adult. And I think Yasmin was allowed. You went in, and then Yasmin phoned me, said they found something on her CT scan. And it was only the following day that we got the phone call from the oncologist saying, do you know what brain cancer is? We said, no, not really. She found a tumour, but that's what we've been told. And she goes, I think the conversation rolled on, and I got the impression something's not good. And I just said to him, what are you trying to tell us, doctor? And he said, I'm sorry to say that your daughter's got 12 to 18 months to live. And that was on the telephone while she's at hospital and we were both at home. So it's a complete and utter shock.
I can see just looking at you.
Yeah.
Like your world must have fallen apart.
Completely.
So what was it like seeing Amani, going through the diagnosis, going through the plans afterwards?
Oh, it was just horrendous. At the beginning she was quite positive, and I remember when we had our first appointment at Mount Vernon Cancer Centre, and obviously she'd heard how serious everything was and what the treatment was, and the doctors kept on saying anything we suggested as in treatments, they would just always say, yes, but this is not a cure, this is not a cure. So Marnie was hearing it repeatedly, because I think they just wanted I don't know, they just wanted us to be clear what where we were heading or something, I don't know. And I remember we came out and Amani just broke down on the journey home and just said, "Oh, am I dying, Mum?" And then she cried for a little bit, and then she said, "Oh, well, if anyone can cope with this, get through it, I can." And she was really, really positive. And then she had a few things that happened in her personal life, and that's when we sort of lost her as her character as it was at that time. And then it was a good maybe 6 months of like real struggle where we just lost. Marnie's smile, she couldn't smile or anything like that. But she, credit to her, she was a strong. From the 2021, beginning of 2021, she got her fight back, and and she did amazing things with her life despite it all.
So you said that the doctors kept saying, "Look, there's no cure." Karam, to both of you really, did it shock you that in the UK there is no treatment or there aren't any options for glioblastoma?
Because I remember that, because I think you were more clued on than I was, isn't it, Karam, that he was always looking straight away, and your brother-in-law was looking all the time about different treatments, and I was getting angry. I was like, because I just thought the NHS is going to, they can deal with this, they can cope with this. So, but you were always going on about, oh, what about this in Germany, this in America? And I was getting angry, thinking, why are you thinking of that we need this? Because the NHS is going to sort it.
Yeah, I think from our point of view, when you said the condition was terminal, and even if she had radio chemotherapy, it might extend her life by up to 9 months, and then the tumour's going to grow again. And I thought, well, that's not treatment at all then. So, my brother-in-law and myself, we started looking at other treatments abroad, and starting speaking to other doctors about possible treatments, because we had to have some hope. And we always made sure with Amani that, look, this is the standard treatment for everyone, but we've got plans B and C in place, so you don't worry, you just look after yourself and keep fighting. And
you ended up fundraising, I understand, to try and get treatment. What response did you have for that?
I think it was amazing, really. Yasmin put together amazing fundraising page, and we raised
GoFundMe.
GoFundMe, and we raised over 100,000 in 24 hours, and we closed the page. And I remember we was getting phone calls from friends and relatives saying we've not had time to donate yet, but our view is that anything we take from the community is on trust, and we didn't know how much money we needed, so we thought we'd rather close the funding, get the treatment we need, and if we need to, we'll fundraise again. And
because we had to buy a trial drug from Germany, and that was like £1,000 a week, so it was very costly. So and there was other other options that we were wanting to look into as well. So it was good that having the financial burden lifted was amazing. That so many people donated. It was really kind of everybody, and we were really grateful.
Turning to the issue of faith, Yasmin, I gather Amani asked you to help her read the Quran just before she became ill. Did that give you strength? Did your faith give you strength?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was the actual, because I gave her a Quran before she went to university, so to sort of like as a hint, here's a Quran, maybe you should read it.
My father did that, and I still have it.
Yeah, and she actually came to me the day before she collapsed at home, and she said, "Mum, I want to read Quran with you," and we unwrapped it, and we read it, and it's poignant now that was like a day before that she collapsed and our world sort of fell apart. But when she was in hospital for 12 days. When she came back, she still maintained that and said, "Mum, I still want to read Quran with you." And it was always, Marnie was always the driving force, because obviously sometimes you get mentally tired and emotionally tired, but Marnie was always, "Mum, let's read it." So and when she was going through radiotherapy, her brain just wasn't working properly, so actually just trying to focus, and towards the end trying to just work out the words. It was just so difficult for her at times. But I remember she once said that, she goes, that's the only time that my mind's still, Mum, is when I'm reading Quran. So she, really, it was really lovely that we did that. And we sort of, I think that Surah Rahman, which is Surah 55 in the Quran, was the last one that she read with me. And then she couldn't read anymore. Her eyes weren't working. But we still carried on sort of like breaking down the words, and we did finish that before she passed away. But yeah, that really, it did give her and us both great strength. That
reminds me, actually, because whenever I find that I'm tested or pushed or exhausted, then reading sort of Ayatul Kursi really helps me.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask, was there any point your faith was tested, or you thought, why is Allah doing this?
Yeah, I think during while Amani was ill, I remember always saying to people, I think I'm strong enough to get through her being ill. I'm not sure if I can get through her not being with me. So I definitely think my faith helped me a lot through her, and it made me just cherish every moment as a blessing. I really recognised the ease of people helping us, and we're told in our religion that with every difficulty you have ease, and I could really see that helped me to maintain positivity. But I do think that, and I do remember one moment when things were all just going wrong, and I was just literally really find it difficult to pray. And I was like texting Kuram, was like, I can't do it, because you can't just do it robotically, you have to feel it.
And Kuram, what was that like?
I mean, I think for me, we're both kind of slightly different journeys. My view is now that if you haven't questioned your faith, you've not really been tested. I think you really have to, it's when you push really against the back of the wall. And I think as a father, to see your daughter suffer like that, you really do ask why. And I mean, that did go through my mind.
Because I think you question more during her illness, isn't it? And I think I'm struggling more after her illness.
And did your faith help you to talk honestly and openly about the grieving process?
I think there's sometimes they're kind of the same but separate issues. I think you can have your faith and have your grief. I know traditionally there's 3 days of official mourning in our religion, but believe me, grief doesn't stop there. This is something Yasmin and I and her sisters are going to carry for the rest of our life. Every happy occasion is going to be tainted, whether it's Eid, birthdays, etc. And I don't think that makes a difference whether you're a strong believer or part of another faith. I think grief is universal, and it's not something we're ever going to get over time. It's something that's always going to be simmering under the surface for Yasmin and I and her sisters, and it can appear like a horrible monster at any time. And I think we have to accept that, whether you believe in the afterlife or not. This is the way we were created, and and there's no shame in that.
I think our faith helped us have those conversations with Amani about the fact that she was passing, and and I hope, I'm sure it did bring her comfort as well.
Now, Kuram, I want to ask you, as one of your other daughters, I know Amani was selected, correct me if I'm wrong, for the Queen's Baton for the Commonwealth Game. Tell us about that.
So shortly before Amani passed away, we received the nomination. She's been nominated by Brain Tumour Research for her services to the brain cancer community. So she was really excited about it and determined to be there and do it herself. But unfortunately, she passed away a few days later. And so when we discussed it with Brain Tumour Research, they said, look, why not one of her sisters carry the baton for her? And then Malia was really happy to do that for Amani. Malia's been the youngest sibling. And I mean, on the day, it was an amazing event, wasn't it, really? I mean, there's, speeches and, and Luton Bourdown Park was full of people. And I think Malia really enjoyed it, didn't she, honouring her sister like that?
And
so
also,
lovely.
As it turned out, her other sister was able to walk with her as well as like chaperone. So that was really perfect.
And I guess on that point, Yasmin, what legacy did Amani leave? How would you like her to be remembered? Because actually, when you talk about her, both of you, I get a sense of immense pride.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Like, it's like she's not left; she's still with you.
Yeah, definitely. I think she did a lot. She did like podcasts. She had a Chat to Amani podcast, which are like on Instagram and YouTube, and she so she's done some which were faith based as well with like a Imam Umar Suleiman. She did one with him, which I think has really helped people. I think people actually saw her resilience as really inspiring. And definitely all of the work that she did with brain tumour research to raise awareness, particularly amongst the sort of Muslim and Asian community, because a lot of people don't actually have these diagnoses and just don't talk about it.
Now on this station we follow the case of George Fox, a teenage boy who died of a brain tumour this year, and I understand you're joining with his family for a special event. Tell us about that, Karim.
Last year we did the first walk of hope in the park, and Amani helped raise over £13,000 for brain tumour research, and I think Yasmin, you decided to reach out to.
Yeah, we decided we wanted to do it again, and so obviously we wanted to do it in honour of, in memory of Amani. But then I was like, I know there's another boy. He's a local boy as well, and I've been in touch with his family, his mum. So I reached out to her and said, look, should we do it as in memory of both George and Amani? And she was really keen to do that. So yeah, it's going to be a joint thing on Sunday, the 25th of September at Wardown Park in Luton, a walk of hope. So yeah, we're hoping that lots of people will be wanting to join us for that and raise some more money.
And Yasmin, earlier on you said that there isn't a lot of awareness in the Muslim Pakistani community about brain tumours or cancer, actually, if I can use that word very openly, because I find that in my community, the minute the word cancer is mentioned, there's a real fear, rightly or wrongly. What would you like to see change when it comes to brain tumour treatment in Britain?
Oh, definitely more investment from the government, because at the moment it's the families are like ours are grieving families, or families going through really difficult times when your loved one is being treated. But we feel like we're having to sort of fundraise and try and get money for more research, because the research options and treatment options in the UK hasn't changed in decades, and it really needs to change, and you can't change without investment. So definitely, I don't know whether you've got anything to add, Karim.
I mean, the government did pledge 40 million over 5 years when Tessa Jowell was diagnosed in, I think, 2017, and to date they've only released 9 million. That's nearly the 5 years are up. And the stock answer from the government is, we haven't got the appropriate trials available to fund them. But I just feel that's just a smokescreen. You put the money forward, the trials will start. I mean, we're way behind Europe and the US as far as treatments are concerned.
Well, thank you so much for joining me in the studio. But before I let you go, because I want to have, you just told me the wonderful story of your beautiful daughter. What moment this week made you the happiest, Yasmin?
Oh dear.
I think we're struggling with happy moments at the moment, if I'm honest with you. I think we struggle
probably
a lot.
knowing that we're going to come on here, because for us, honestly, because for us, speaking about Amani is like spending time with Amani.
Yeah.
And any time that we can spend time with Amani, so, we just find any opportunity to speak about her. So yeah, I think for me it's
I think any opportunity we get to speak about our dear daughter is the only time brings a smile to our face.
Yeah, and I can tell you honestly, and I'm sure on behalf of our listeners here at the BBC Three Counties, it's been a joy listening to all about Amani, and she is currently still a very beautiful soul, and her legacy will live on. Thank you for joining me in the studio.
That's great. Thank you so much.